The Silent World. The assembly that ruled the stars. The interstellar assembly had governed known space for over 200 years. 53 species sat in its grand chamber, a massive sphere of polished crystal floating at the heart of the Nexus station. Light from distant stars filtered through its walls, casting rainbows across the faces of 100 different life forms. Chancellor Veth stood at the center podium, his 4 eyes scanning the gathered representatives. His species, the Torvin, had been founding members of the assembly. They had built this station, written its laws, and guided its growth from a simple trade agreement into the most powerful governing body in the galaxy. Today's agenda was routine: trade disputes, border conflicts, resource allocation. And at the very bottom of the list, the same item that had appeared in every meeting for the past 4 decades. "We move now to item 47, Veth announced, his voice carrying through the chamber with practiced authority. The human question. A collective sigh rippled through the assembly. Some representatives looked bored. Others showed frustration. A few simply closed their eyes as if hoping to sleep through another pointless discussion. 40 years of silence. Ambassador Croth of the Melian Federation rose from his seat. His silver scales caught the starlight as he approached the speaker's platform, data tablet in hand. "Distinguished colleagues," he began, "I present my 400th report on human diplomatic outreach." He paused, letting that number sink in. 400 attempts. 400 failures. The response remains unchanged. He read from his tablet in a flat voice. Message received. Under consideration. Response pending. "Those exact words?" asked Representative Yotha, a young delegate from a recently admitted species. "For 40 years? For 40 years, Croth confirmed. Same 8 words. No variation. No additional information. Nothing. The chamber erupted in murmurs. Yotha looked confused, but the older representatives simply shook their heads. The day everything changed. Croth remembered the day humanity had been discovered. He had been a junior diplomat then, assigned to the first contact team. Their scouts had detected radio signals coming from a small blue planet on the edge of explored space. Primitive broadcasts, mostly entertainment and news programs. The first contact protocols had been followed perfectly. A delegation of 12 species had approached Earth orbit. They had broadcast greetings in every format imaginable. Mathematical sequences. Visual representations. Audio messages in 100 languages. The humans had responded within hours. Not with fear or worship as many primitive species did. They had responded with questions. Detailed, intelligent questions about the assembly's structure. About membership requirements. About trade agreements and military alliances and technological exchange programs. The delegation had been delighted. Here was a species ready to join galactic civilization. They had answered every question thoroughly, provided comprehensive documentation, and extended a formal invitation to join the assembly. And then silence. The council debates. "Enough," declared Defense Minister Thrall, slamming his massive fist against his console. The Vorn were not known for patience. 40 years of wasted resources. 40 years of sending messages into the void. These humans are either too stupid to respond properly or too arrogant to bother. "Perhaps they need more time," suggested a soft voice. Elder Senna of the Korath spoke rarely, but her words carried weight. Her species had been among the last to join the assembly, and they remembered their own hesitation. "Your people took 2 years to decide," Thrall shot back. "Not 4 decades. Different species process decisions differently," Senna replied calmly. "The humans may simply operate on a longer timeline. Or they may be building something," said a quiet voice from the back. Every head turned toward Representative Nex of the Synthetic Collective. The artificial being rarely participated in debates, preferring to observe and calculate. "Our long-range sensors have detected increased activity in the human solar system," Nex continued. "Mining operations in their asteroid belt. Construction platforms around their outer planets. Energy signatures we cannot identify." Thrall laughed, a harsh barking sound. "Let them play with rocks and ice. Their technology is primitive. Whatever they build will be centuries behind our most basic systems." The vote. Chancellor Veth raised his hand for silence. "We have discussed this matter enough. I propose à vote. The motion is to declare Earth a non-participating civilization, to end all diplomatic outreach, and to impose standard isolation protocols." The voting began. Representatives pressed buttons on their consoles, and the results appeared on the central display. 47 in favor. 4 against. 2 abstained. Veth nodded solemnly. Motion passes. Ambassador Kroth, you will send one final message informing the humans of our decision. After that, Earth will be removed from all assembly records. Kroth accepted the task with a heavy heart. Something about this situation had always troubled him. The humans had not seemed primitive when they first made contact. Their questions had been too sharp, too focused. They had known exactly what to ask and what to avoid. He returned to his office and composed the final message. It was brief and formal. Earth had been offered membership and had failed to respond. The offer was being withdrawn. Further contact would not be welcome. He sent it without ceremony and turned away from his console. The alarms. The first alarm sounded 3 hours later. Kroth was still in his office, reviewing old files from the first contact mission, when the emergency lights began flashing. A voice boomed through every speaker on the station. Alert! Alert! Unidentified fleet detected at sector boundary. All personnel to defensive stations. He rushed to the command center, joining dozens of other officials who had the same idea. The main display showed the sensor data, and what he saw made his blood run cold. Ships. Hundreds of ships. No, not hundreds. Thousands. 2,000 contacts confirmed, reported the sensor operator, her voice shaking. They appeared out of nowhere. No faster-than-light signatures detected. They just materialized. That's impossible, Thrall growled. No technology can mask that many ships from our sensors. They're not masking anything now, the operator replied. They want us to see them. Kroth studied the formation. The ships moved in perfect synchronization, like a single organism with 2,000 bodies. They arranged themselves in a sphere around the Nexus station, blocking every exit route, covering every possible escape vector. And then the identification codes began broadcasting. Earth, Kroth whispered. They're from Earth. The command center fell silent. Every screen showed the same thing. 2,000 warships, each larger than anything in the Assembly's fleet, all bearing the same origin designation. Chancellor Veth arrived, his 4 eyes wide with shock. What is this? What are they doing? I don't know, Kroth admitted. But I think they've finally decided to respond. A new message appeared on the main display. 8 words just like all the others. But these 8 words were different. Humanity requests permission to address the Assembly. The silence that followed was the loudest sound Kroth had ever heard. The reckoning. The arrival. No one in the command center moved. 2,000 human warships surrounded the station, their weapons powered but not targeting anything specific. They simply waited, patient as stones, while the Assembly struggled to process what was happening. This is an invasion, Thrall declared, reaching for the emergency communications panel. We must call for reinforcements. Rally the member fleets. And tell them what? Veth asked quietly. That we are surrounded by a force 10 times larger than anything we can assemble? That would cause panic across 53 worlds. Then we fight, Thrall insisted. We defend ourselves. With what? Kroth stepped forward, pointing at the tactical display. Look at those ships. Our sensors can barely read their power output. Their weapon systems don't match anything in our databases. We have no idea what they can do. The humans solved that mystery a moment later. A single ship at the edge of their formation fired a demonstration shot. Not at the station. Not at any assembly vessel. At an empty asteroid field 3 light seconds away. The asteroid field ceased to exist. Where thousands of rocks had tumbled through space seconds before, there was now only expanding gas and debris. The weapon had not destroyed the asteroids. It had unmade them, breaking them down to their component atoms. One ship, Nex observed, his synthetic voice betraying something that might have been fear. One ship did that with one shot. The message repeated on every screen. Humanity requests permission to address the Assembly. Veth closed his 4 eyes. Grant them permission. What choice do we have? Commander Chin. A small shuttle separated from the largest human warship, a vessel whose name translated roughly to unconquered. The shuttle approached the station slowly, giving the Assembly's defense systems plenty of time to scan it. The scans revealed nothing useful. The shuttle's hull was made from materials the computers could not identify. Its propulsion system defied analysis. Even its interior remained hidden behind some kind of interference field. The shuttle docked at the diplomatic bay. Security teams lined the corridor, weapons ready, though everyone knew those weapons would be useless if the humans chose violence. The airlock opened. A single human walked out. She was small by galactic standards, barely reaching the chest of most assembly species. Her hair was dark, cut short and practical. Her eyes were brown and calm. She wore a simple uniform with no visible weapons. But she walked like someone who had never known fear. "Commander Sarah Chin," she announced, her voice carrying perfectly despite its softness. "I represent the United Earth Defense Force and the people of humanity. Thank you for agreeing to meet with us." Thrall pushed forward, his bulk blocking her path. "You bring 2,000 warships to our doorstep and talk about meetings? This is an act of war." Chin looked up at him without flinching. "No. This is an act of negotiation. We simply wanted to ensure you took the negotiation seriously." The truth revealed. The assembly chamber had never felt so tense. Chin stood alone at the speaker's platform, surrounded by hostile eyes. But she showed no concern. She activated a small device, projecting data onto the chamber's main display. "For 40 years, you have wondered why we didn't respond to your invitations," she began. "The answer is simple. We were learning." The display showed records. Assembly documents, trade agreements, membership treaties. Thousands of files, all obtained through means the assembly had believed impossible. "You assumed we were primitive because our radio signals were simple," Chin continued. "You were wrong. We let you hear what we wanted you to hear. While you were composing diplomatic messages, we were reading yours." Murmurs spread through the chamber. How had the humans accessed secure assembly communications? The encryption protocols were unbreakable. "Not unbreakable," Chin said as if reading their thoughts. "Just unfamiliar. It took us about 6 months to crack them. After that, we had access to everything. Every treaty you have ever signed. Every trade agreement. Every secret deal between member species." She changed the display showing economic data. "We learned how you treat new members. The Pelix paid 70% of their planetary wealth in integration fees. The Dormani were forced to abandon their own technology and adopt yours, which you then charged them to maintain. The Synthax were denied full membership for 30 years because their artificial nature made some species uncomfortable. Several representatives shifted in their seats. These were not secrets exactly, but they were truths that no one discussed openly. The pattern. Every species that joined the assembly early became dependent on the founding members," Chin explained. "You call it cooperation. We call it economic colonization. You welcome new civilizations, sign them to agreements they don't fully understand, and then spend decades extracting wealth and resources while calling it partnership. This is absurd," Veth protested. "The assembly has brought peace to the galaxy. We have prevented wars, shared knowledge, lifted primitive species to higher levels of civilization. You have created a system where the powerful stay powerful and the ambitious are contained," Chin replied. "And you do it with smiles and handshakes and talk of galactic unity. But the numbers tell a different story." She showed more data. Trade flows, resource allocations, voting patterns. The evidence was clear. Founding members controlled most of the wealth. New members struggled for decades to achieve independence. And those who tried to change the system found themselves marginalized. "We understood this within our first year of studying you," Chin said. "That's why we didn't respond. We knew what would happen if we joined as a weak, primitive species. We would have signed your treaties, accepted your terms, and spent the next century working for your benefit." The counterproposal. Thrall stepped forward, his patience exhausted. "So you built warships instead. 2,000 weapons of mass destruction. Is this your idea of diplomacy? Threaten what you cannot buy." "We built those ships because we needed leverage," Chin admitted. "Not to conquer you. Conquest is expensive and complicated. We have no interest in ruling the galaxy. But we absolutely refuse to be ruled by it." She deactivated the display and faced the assembly directly. "Here is our counterproposal. Earth will join the Interstellar Assembly as a full and equal member. No integration fees. No technology restrictions. No economic treaties that benefit existing members at our expense. We will trade fairly, participate honestly, and contribute to galactic peace." "And if we refuse?" Beth asked. "Then we leave," Chin said simply. "We return to our solar system and build our own network. We trade with independent worlds outside your influence. We grow stronger while you grow complacent. And eventually, the balance of power shifts without a single shot being fired." She paused, letting her words sink in. "But we would rather be friends than rivals. We would rather build together than compete. Humanity doesn't want to destroy the assembly. We want to fix it." The new dawn. Elder Senna rose from her seat. "She speaks truth," the old delegate said quietly. "My species joined the assembly believing we would be equals. We learned otherwise. But we were too weak to demand change. The humans are not weak," Nex observed. And their proposal benefits all member species, not just themselves. One by one, other representatives spoke up. Species that had chafed under unfair treaties. Civilizations that had paid too much for too little. Worlds that had dreamed of change but never had the power to demand it. Veth saw the shift happening before his eyes. 40 years of stability crumbling in a single afternoon. But perhaps stability had never been the goal. Perhaps it had always been control. "We will consider your proposal," he said finally. Chen smiled. It was a small smile but genuine. "Take your time," she said. "We've waited 40 years. We can wait a little longer." She turned to leave, then paused at the chamber door. "But not too long. Patience is a virtue. But so is knowing when patience has served its purpose." She walked out, leaving the assembly to debate its future. Outside, 2,000 human warships maintained their silent vigil. They were not there to destroy. They were there to remind. Humanity had arrived. And the galaxy would never be the same. The end.